listening to Strides and Vibes. Whether you're on a long run, a lunch break, or stretching out with your foam roller, welcome to the podcast all about moving better, living healthier, and vibing higher. I'm your host, Mario Buchs, elite running coach, ultra-endurance athlete, and founder of Healthetica Coaching, coming to you from the trails, tracks, and streets of Gadigal country in Sydney, Australia. Each episode, I'll bring in guests from all walks, from coaches, athletes to world-class performers, as well as doctors and professionals in their fields, to unpack their stories and explore the mindset shifts, science, and practical strategies that help us go the distance in running and in life. So, lace up, tune in, and let's move towards a better you, one stride at a time. Hello, hello, hello. This is Mario Buchs again, and today we've got a lovely guest, Dan Norich, who's a lifestyle and high performance coach. He's been, free enough to give us his time today and talk about whatever he does in his daily life. We go back a little bit. I'll ask him a few questions, and he even might ask me a little bit. So for those who don't know yet, this is the Strides and Vibes podcast. It's a little bit about running, a lot about coaching, mentoring, leadership, and whatever else makes us tick. But trust me, after about 20 minutes of listening to us, everybody wants to go for a run. So even if you don't own any shoes, you'll just go out in your thongs. All right, Dan, what makes Dan Dan? What do you do? Tell us.
Thanks so much for having me, Mario. Our journey started together 3 years ago. We've worked together on multiple fronts, including running, and I'll definitely be going for a run this afternoon. What makes me, me? Well, I am a husband and a father, first and foremost. I have 3 beautiful kids. I have an angel in the sky. I have a beautiful wife. We live in the Northern Rivers, which is a dream, something that we've always wanted to do, and it's happened in the last few years, a post-COVID move. And I travel around Australia working with individuals, working with teams. We're talking leadership. We're helping to build happy, healthy, and high-performing teams and leaders and individuals. I do a lot of coaching remotely and virtually, but I also travel around Australia to get some face-to-face dynamic energy in a room over a few-day period. Most weeks, actually, so there is a lot of travel, but I do get to come home, go for a beautiful run, go for a surf in the beautiful area that I live.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for this great introduction. You mentioned it. We met, about 3 years ago. You coached me because I needed a little bit more sales skills, which as an engineer, you don't always have that, You taught me some soft skills, you taught me some hard skills, but I always liked the way you did things, and you've just hit the nail on the head. It's that health conscious approach. I also, foster that in my own business, Healthetica Coaching, where I have this holistic view of how to coach people and get people to do extraordinary things that maybe they didn't think they were able to do, be it in a team or be it in an individual setting where, they start running and think, I can never do this, or I can never go. Some people have a little bit of anxiety as well when they go to work, and helping people out, that's so good. And you helped me heaps. So what made you choose this health approach? There must have been a moment where you said, look, all this theory is great, right? We can read all these books, but there has to be a softer approach to get people to, take you on and take things on board that you say to these people. But where did this health bit come from, and how do you operate in that environment?
So my method really revolves around the idea of turning insight into action. We can definitely read books, we can listen to great podcasts like this, we can watch great videos, we can be inspired by great quotes, but what action will we take? And so I've always lived a life of just practically implementing what I learn. My passions early on were sport, health and fitness. It was drums and music, and it was always something around helping people either with drums or with music or with health, fitness and exercise. And my approach to working with people now is looking at things holistically. It's not just working with someone in a professional setting, it's behind that person is the person. And so trying to understand what's going on for them can help us work together to build a plan to turn ideas of where we want to go, insights that we have about the life that we want to live, and create and take really powerful action on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. And it's just constantly checking in. It's a lot about curiosity. It's a lot about listening, asking great questions, being patient to receive the kind of answers that are really on people's minds. And sometimes we have to probe deeply. Sometimes we have to ask multiple times to get to the root of what's really going on for someone. I've been really fortunate that I've had many coaches in my life, and I feel like the more that they probe, the more patient they are, the more I get to see parts of myself that maybe go missed or unnoticed. And so I just do my best to take on that inspiration and offer that to the people that I work with. And it's beautiful because ultimately I'm just having great conversations with large groups or small groups or individuals, and we're just talking about things that are human, things that are natural, things that we all experience and go through. As you mentioned around anxiety, I mean, that's just one of many things that do come up in conversations, whether it's in a boardroom, in a professional setting, or at home. We're all experiencing something. And so what are the solutions? Sometimes the solution is just to listen, and sometimes there might be an action piece, part of that, to help someone move through the discomfort.
Yeah, I just did a podcast earlier on with my friend on a different podcast. It's called The 1%ers, and we were actually talking about this discomfort, where people are always in a very comfortable place, really, and we seek that comfort. We get in the car, we put the aircon on when it's 23 degrees and all this kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, we should do hard things, maybe once a day or something like that. We should get uncomfortable. I mean, this is not what we're going to talk about today, but I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. People, to get them out of their comfort zone, which is actually what it is, because suddenly there's this guy coming in, Dan Norich, sales coach, business coach, leadership, high performance, and this person that you're confronting or confronted with is just a normal guy who wants to go to work. And then suddenly after 2 or 3 days, he's the guy that's actually right at the top, probably, just with you using your tools that you've got, saying, hey, you're the guy, and people sometimes forget this. It's like, I have an analogy, I've never been a cross-country coach, but knowing what happens in the US, cross-country is huge, for schools and colleges and high schools. And they always talk about the top runner, the top 3 runner, but it takes 5 runners to make your points up for your school. So the focus has to be on that 5th runner. So what makes a great team? Not the best guy. Yeah, he might run the fastest time, but it's about the 5th runner or the 11th player on a football team or in an AFL team and things like that. And I find that when I work with teams and people, that this is something that I'm kind of drawn to that person. It's definitely not the loudest one in the room, is it? It's not the one, So just the next question I would have is, you've got these people in a room, and I simplify this, and you can correct me with, if I'm wrong in any way. There's two different types of mindsets. For me, that's very important. There's the open mindset, so I start this in a positive way. The open mindset, so someone's there, yeah, I'm open, I want to learn new things, and because they understand long term. It's like intelligence. We can do IQ tests and stuff, but at the end of the day, we can learn intelligence as we age. As I get older, I always think I get smarter and wiser. Not that I was stupid earlier on. I did stupid things, of course, we all did, but. So you've got that open mindset, and then you've got that fixed mindset where I'm only doing this is how things are. Is that something, how do you unpack that when you talk to people?
It's a great topic and it comes up in most workshops. What I find, especially with quiet people, I can really relate to that, just to go back to something earlier that you shared. Sometimes the quieter people, maybe the more introverted people, have the most wisdom and the most power to share. And so part of engaging a group is to really acknowledge everyone in the room and be like curious, ask lots of great questions, really listen openly and actively, because there is wisdom everywhere if we're patient enough to receive it and open enough to receive it as well. And so what I love when there's people maybe a little bit more on the fixed side of things rather than the kind of growth and openness side of mindset, I mean, let's use and borrow the experience that someone has that might be fixed in thinking maybe they have already done this before, or they've had experiences like this before, or they've got great intelligence and awareness and expertise that they don't need more. How do we use that to our advantage in a workshop setting? Because they've got so much to contribute. So my strategy is always to bring them up to the front or get them talking, because that is what engages them. And people love to hear from people within an organisation of how they got from where they are to where they are now. And so it's really important that the people with great experience are sharing, they're really open. And to me, that's great mentorship. So how do we foster that kind of attitude in a group setting is a real passion for mine, because it does crack everyone open. But it's, again, the willingness to just understand where everyone is and use different skillful means to draw out the best type of conversation and engagement possible. Sometimes that's slowly, sometimes it's quickly. But what's most important for me is to take my time and not rush through anything, and just to really acknowledge where people are at, because I really believe that acknowledgement is everything. If we can just acknowledge a fixed mindset, perfect. If we can acknowledge an open mindset, equally as perfect, and not to discriminate, and just to find a way to, again, nurture a great conversation. So that's my kind of practice and how I would, I guess, show up to a situation like that. And for you, what comes to mind for you?
I think, very similar approach. I always think, as the older I get, I started off in life definitely with a fixed mindset. It's just the way that era that I grew up. In a way, it's a safety barrier, nothing else. But now I'm totally different, open, and I want to listen to people. I've learned to ask questions, also thanks to you, of course, over the last few years, having our discussions, and you've taught me how to do this. And in my coaching career, it's the same, listening to people, and then what's between the lines. And everybody's got a story, point one, and everybody's got issues. It's like no one is the way they are just because they want to be like that, right? If people want to be happy, then they're happy, because that's okay. But when people are sad and a little bit closed, then there's a reason behind it. And you mentioned it with unpacking. We're coming up to Christmas and stuff. There's going to be a lot of unpacking physically, but this unpacking of things is, for me, is the main part. I mean, I've worked with runners for 2 or 3 years. I might not know as much as I need to know or that I want to know, but that's okay, because we're working nicely and it's all long term. So in your experience, when you say you do daily, 1 day, 3 day, monthly, what's the best approach for a company to say, look, we want Dan Norich in, or we want Mario Buchs doing whatever he does and someone else doing whatever they do? Is a 3-day boot camp a good starter to get everybody just open, or would you already say, look, let's do this once a month? Or what's the best approach from your experience, just for companies out there to understand? Because it's, they might be thinking 2025 is where I need to get my team to the next level, and people like you will come in right handy, so.
I definitely feel like there's a place for really immersive boot camp experiences where it's a focused amount of time together. And there's amazing things that can come about there, great insights, great plans, great strategies. I also feel the importance of ongoing support and accountability and action planning and coaching to stay accountable to the plans that we make is essential. And I do a lot of that type of work because things get lost, things get busy, we get distracted, we move on, we forget all the things that we all go through on a regular basis. But when we do have a coach that's there for us to help us move the needle in our career or with our health or with our mindset, then we just feel we're working together with someone. And I just think that that is the greatest gift that we can give to ourselves, because doing things alone is hard. And I mean, you're an ultra marathon runner. What's it like to do things by yourself? Or do you have a team that works with you when you're doing 100K plus kind of runs? What's your experience of that?
Oh, it takes a village. Look, it's like, yeah, if you run, you know, you can do it on your own, but yeah, it's a lot harder. I mean, some races want you to have a crew, or they say you have to have a crew, so crew is mandatory. So building that team around you is pretty is one of the biggest jobs or biggest tasks you have.
Yeah.
You know, when a runner comes to me and says, I want to run, I'm wearing the shirt at the moment, Coast to Cozy, where you need to have a car with you from 24 kilometers onwards to Charlotte Pass, and then obviously after Summit with your crew. Yeah, it's important to build a team around you that you can trust, that know you. Yeah, and that goes in all walks of life, really, not just ultra marathon running. You know, I think I did a lot on my own because, yeah, my past is being a service engineer, and I used to install machinery on my own. So you had no other choice, you know. Sometimes I didn't even have a half decent electrician on site, so I had to do that part as well. And you're the only guy in a foreign land that knows how the machine will work in the end. So you're the guy who's in the spotlight from morning till evening, you know. And it gets even harder when it's like really important, the installation. So I've done newspaper installations for national newspapers. So if that bloody thing doesn't go out at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're in deep trouble, you know. So yeah, we've slept in newspaper places just because it was not worth going back to the hotel. But yeah, having a team around you is so much easier. It's definitely, it can put a little bit of pressure on you because you need to also then finish that race or finish that job for that team. But that's healthy pressure. That's not something I would veer off as a negative. But some people might have an issue with that pressure. Yeah, building teams is the key. You know, I work in a team as well, and it's great. It's like, yeah, you can trust one another. Trust is a big thing, of course. You know, so, but I think when you go in and you do teach teams, it's nice to see how they grow. And I agree with that boot camp. I've just done a boot camp for keynote speaking a few months ago. And yeah, it was great. 3 days, fully intense. Yeah, raw, right? We were like an onion. It's like, in the end, there was not much onion left. It was all scattered across the floor. That you cannot get, that setting in a once in a full moon thing. From once you have that, and you know one another and you trust one another, you can build so much more. I think have you got the same experience where, yeah, once you've got people in that setting, from then on in you can really go into the next gear because you know they trust one another. You can shift gears much quicker than if you do one from the beginning on there.
Definitely. And I think just to highlight the crucial key word that you share there is trust, and fostering and building trust in an immersive experience is how you build long-term partnerships and relationships and opportunities to collaborate, because there's loyalty there, there's reliability there, and we've built a connection, and connection is everything. That allows us to give and receive feedback that might be praise-oriented but also constructively oriented as well. I love to be a teammate with my clients, whether it's a group or an individual. I feel like I'm part of the team. I deeply care. I mean, I feel the work that I do and coaching in general is about like the care that we bring to the work that we do, the way that we just show up, are approachable, willing to serve, willing to listen. Sometimes people just need to be cared for, listened to, and acknowledged. And so I think that's just the role that all of us are playing in the different ways that we do that in coaching.
I love that. That's just gold. Yeah, it's this being there for someone. You know, and sometimes they tell you things they wouldn't tell their loved ones probably, or their boss. It's this. I think you have to build a very safe environment first, because otherwise it becomes an online training plan, and you can send them a presentation. You know, but there also has to be, maybe, I don't know how you do they have to kind of report back a little bit. So. As a coach, you also have to be the guy that they account to. So you're the accountable one. So how do you treat that?
It's a really important topic. I think confidentiality is everything, and everyone is aware of that, both a decision maker and people that I would be working with. When topics are sensitive, it's important to really be accountable to that confidentiality that we do have. Because that does allow for us to create a safe space. But of course, if things are needed to be shared, they're done in a respectful and sensitive way, honouring both parties. But I believe, just generally speaking, it's what you do up front serves and supports what happens during a session or a program that can last 1 hour and 1 year. So setting up and framing things of when something does happen, what does the feedback model look like, I think is key. And I think just generally speaking, when you've got and set up expectations up front, it takes care of the challenges that will inevitably arise.
Oh, they don't go in blind, eh? I just want to go back to the health thing because that's close to my heart, and I know it's close
Yes.
to your heart. You know, we've
Yes.
both got we've got stories to tell, which is great. Um, on our health journeys. How do you approach that? You know, again, you're going into teams. I know the resistance sometimes of people. Ah, yeah, I can read. I know what's healthy, and I blah blah blah. Although people actually don't know too much, and that's not derogatory. It's just fact. I'm still learning every single day. Everyone else as well. So what's your first? How do you approach this? Let's go in with this health. How do you, or what do you tell them what health is? How do you explain it to people who kind of, again, we've got that mindset of, oh, fixed, I know what I'm doing. How do you deal with that?
I feel when it comes to anything, story is really essential, and also sharing experience. So I only share my experience, or to the best of my ability, I will use other tools as needed. But sharing my experience is really how I feel like we build a really good connection and rapport quite quickly. I've just been obsessed with health and fitness and exercise and training my whole life. That's natural for me and probably quite unnatural for most. So it's Marginal Gains, you know, the One Percenters, the other podcast. It's a perfect and apt name for something like this. I mean, right now I'm standing, I'm up quite early, which is living in the discomfort zone for me, up at 5 a.m. to take care of my mindset, my physical health, my strength, and just taking care of myself, because that's when I have the most freedom and time for myself as well. But little things that we can do in our day revolves around understanding how someone sets up their day. And so I'm just curious of, like, are people sitting most of the day? Are they looking at a screen most of the day? What are they eating? What are they drinking? And then it's just small changes that we can make that feel exciting for someone, or feel interesting to someone, or that someone is committed to shifting because they see that they're not feeling as well as they could be feeling. And how do you know how someone's feeling is, obviously great questions can be really helpful, but just getting people to rate themselves on where they are and where they'd like to be, and the things that they are doing going to get them to the number that they would like to be, and often that isn't the case. So it's about building a plan that is really someone taking the responsibility and the time to actually create for themselves, and then I help shape that into like what that could look like on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and a monthly basis. But it's all about giving the person the opportunity to see what's in front of them. And I just feel we don't often have the time to do that. And time is very valuable, and it often gets eaten up, and we often are quite distracted and unfocused, or focused on other things. I believe health is absolutely fundamental to performing at a high level. So how do we do that? Well, I think it's just reflection, taking stock, building a plan, having a plan, and working with someone to execute that plan.
Perfect. What a great way to come to an end of a fantastic discussion, Dan. I just remember one, on that subject, one of my bosses a few years ago said, "Hey, why do you run so much?" And I'm like, to be much better at what I do, because running gives me the energy I need to do this full-blown whopper chopper of a job, and yeah, it's simple. Health is number one. Sleep is number one. All this stuff, recovery, I mean, this is stuff I can bang on about forever, But I think the most important thing is, the hardest part as a coach is to get people to buy in. And once they buy in, the journey is fantastic, But the future is a foreign land, and I love that, Nobody can.
Exciting.
I did a race in Taupo just a few months ago in New Zealand, and I was running with two guys who were running their first 100K next to me, young guys, like really much younger than me. So how's this going to end? Where are we going to go? And how does this feel? I says, mate, there's one thing I can guarantee you: the future is a foreign land. The outcome is not given. So yeah, look, from the bottom of my heart, Dan, thank you so much for coming on this on this podcast, and I'm looking forward to number 2 and number 3 with you, because we've got a lot to unpack, which is fantastic. So hopefully we can get you back at some stage. 2025 is another great year, I can see it coming. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Mario. You're an inspiration. This was an idea, and now it's been activated. So
we love it.
Perfect.
Thanks a lot. Thanks to you. Thanks so much. Cheers.
Thank you, Mario.
That's it for this episode, folks. As we wrap up, I want to honor the traditional custodians of the land I'm recording on and pay my respects to elders past and present. May we continue to listen, learn, and tread lightly wherever we run. If today's episode sparked something in you, hit that share button, leave a review, or drop a comment on Spotify or YouTube. Every little bit helps keep the momentum going. Or even if you've got a question, feedback, or just want to say hi, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep moving, stay curious, and never forget, showing up is the hardest and bravest stride of all.